everyone. Ogre27 Kane here today with episode 2 of our month of Zelda. This week we're doing a review of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD for Nintendo Switch. Let's do an overview of what this game is, what to expect. This is a remake of a Nintendo Wii game that came out right at the end of that console's life cycle. This is a really fun Zelda game, but it kind of flew under the radar. It didn't sell terribly well, and a lot of the mechanics aren't necessarily remembered too fondly as well either. With that being said, this game still has some really cool things about it. A lot of the building blocks that we're going to find in Tears of the Kingdom can be found in this game, such as the whole sky traversal to land traversal mechanic. This game is also canonically the beginning of the Legend of Zelda series, and therefore it kind of tells the origin story of Zelda and Link and how those characters move from timeline to timeline throughout history, their importance, and what they represent to the world around them. Well, without further ado, let's start with the gameplay. And the gameplay in this game is pretty fun. Although being very linear in its structure and not really having much of an open world to explore, the game still has a lot of really fun, intriguing puzzles and things to keep you engaged, so that way the moving forward doesn't seem like you're going out of place. It doesn't feel like you're just dumping stuff off and moving to the next objective. You feel like you're actually helping the world that you're involved in. Now, not only is this helped through the combat and mechanics, but very much so through the art style as well. The art style in this game kind of turned me off at first. I don't really like the cel-shaded look, but after I got into it a bit, it grew on me. It certainly feels much better than Wind Waker did. I think a lot of this is helped by the fact that Link and Zelda are adults in this game, or close to it, and therefore more represented in a more lifelike manner. Expect to find all the same gameplay features you find in most Zelda games. There are dungeons to explore, there's a world that links everything together, and there's a story involving a sinister bad man. But all that being aside, it's still just a Zelda game where you enjoy the combat and puzzle mechanics and feel a great sense of gratitude for completing all of the goals and objectives put before you. I will touch on some more gameplay aspects when I get to the controls, because there's a lot to talk about there. So let's get into the combat next. Now, the combat in this game is your typical sword and shield, but you have the motion control aspect of it, which was popular with the Nintendo Wii and the Wii Motion Plus. There are certain aspects on the Nintendo Switch's motion controls that work really well, and then there are other aspects that don't. The most frustrating thing that you'll have to deal with in combat is trying to center your controls in the middle of your actions. That gets kind of annoying, but once you get over that, you'll realize that the combat in this game is really fun and engaging, and everything is designed to keep you engaged in the fight itself. Another thing that I have to mention about combat is that it is very precise in this game. Most Zelda games you can just kind of mash and get close to the enemy and do your damage. In this game, the combat is half of the puzzle mechanic. Putting your blade in the right place has everything to do with being successful in combat. Once you do that, and once you learn to use your other mechanics in tandem with this, the game works really well and rewards you for learning all of these aspects. Now, once again, you cannot button mash, so I don't recommend that. Well, that ought to do it on combat. The rest of it you pretty much have to experience yourself to really understand it. Next, let's talk about the graphics and animations. Now, at the time, I remember this game looking really sharp on the Wii. This game had a little bit more time in the oven and a little bit more preparation than something like Twilight Princess did for that console, and so was able to utilize a lot of those strengths of it. The Wii was just a little bit more powerful than the GameCube, and this game was able to prove that. Now, with the updates that they've done, all the graphics and animations in this game pop a lot more. The frame rate is very steady. I'm not sure if it's locked or not, but it seems to be very consistent, and I didn't have a lot of problems with slowdown. Because of this, it allows the combat to be very fluid. Now, the graphics in this game are cel-shaded, but that doesn't take away from it. It has a certain amount of realism to it that you could find on Twilight Princess that was not really present on Wind Waker. And I like that. I think even though they chose this animation style, the game still has a certain darkness to it, and it really does provide itself for having a darker tone and a little bit of a horror element at certain times. Other than that, I have to give kudos to Nintendo. This is a really good looking remaster. So up next, let's talk about the controls and audio, and this is a pretty important category for this game. So I have to start out with saying that this game is not as comfortable as the Wii version. The Wii version does feel a little bit better. But that being said, it is a really good conversion considering what Nintendo's working with, and the fact that they chose not to use the IR sensor as its main mode of pointer control. They chose to use the gyro sensors for most of your movement and your sword control. And although this works pretty well, like I mentioned earlier in this review, you have to constantly center that control, and if you're not paying attention to where it's centered at, you will select an item or you will select a sword and you will start spinning out of control. This gets a little bit annoying, especially considering the Wii version didn't ever do this to you. But at the same time, it's easy enough to correct, and after you get used to this, you learn how to manipulate this to better benefit. The only thing to say about the audio is that they maintained all of its original tracks and sounds, just enhanced and upgraded it. So it is a really good conversion, and there are no complaints from me here. So I think now we should do the conclusion. Well, in conclusion, I did not really expect, nor did I want them to remaster this game. In specific, I was hoping for Twilight Princess. But considering this is what they did, I decided to pick it up and play it through again, and I was pleasantly surprised. Nintendo did a really good job on this, and this game is fantastic. Yeah, it doesn't really have all the appeal of Twilight Princess, and it doesn't have the longevity of something like Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild. It still is a fun Zelda game in its own right, and it's worth the money. If you pick it up for $40 or $50, then I'd say you're going to get your time out of it. It is a good 40 to 50 hour game. Nintendo certainly is treating us with all these Zelda games on the Switch. And I love the fact that I can play this game again because honestly I didn't really give it a fair shake back on the Wii. I'm glad I got to play this, and I encourage anybody who's a Zelda fan to play this through before Tears of the Kingdom, so that way you can get a feel for the whole idea of the Sky Islands and what they were trying to accomplish. This game leads heavily into that, in my opinion, in just the mechanics alone, so it's worth a try just to experience that first. Well, this concludes episode 2 of our month of Zelda. This game is near and dear to me not only because it's a Zelda, but because it's fun. So thank you so much for watching this video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this video, have a great rest of your day, and please like and subscribe. This is Ogre27 Kane, signing out.